If you wanted to neutralize, if you wanted to cause a divide in MAGA and thereby a divide in Trump's base, and if you had any abiding incentive to do so, that would obviously be something that you would consider worth the investment.
All right. You know him as the host of The Rageaholic, and you know him as Razerfist on X with a 0. He's still going with that. I know him as Mr. Fist in front of the show. Let's bring him on to discuss his rating. Mr. Fist. Senor Fist, long time no see, sir. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last time I was hanging around was before the Pinko Pox.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
a little bit.
We the whole thing just we just don't really do guests that often anymore, because what happened is we were just like, we just talk, and then we always end up going late, and then yeah, everyone should go check out. Right, he's one of the originals who's been around for a long time. You've seen a lot of these flavors of the day come and go on new media.
Yeah. Some of whom are now goose-stepping and wearing an armband, yes.
Yes. Well, that brings us actually to, we just did this rating system. And I know that I don't want to say you're not a libertarian, but, you definitely are conservative. I don't want to mislabel you, but where would you grade specifically that Iranian situation, the Iranian, the mission that we carried out? Because remember, people were calling for Donald Trump to be impeached, saying he was betraying his people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we all died for Israel a month ago, so I'm not even here now. Right. You're actually conversing with a skeleton. It's no big deal. I give him an A for Armageddon. That's what I would do.
Yes. And they gave him a D for, was it Deep Impact or Sudden Impact? Which was the Dirty Harry? Which was the one with a lot?
Deep Impact was the asteroid. Sudden Impact has got to be Dirty Harry.
Oh, okay. Yes. But that was almost set to fracture. What we have been a part of and watched for a very long time, people going, Donald Trump's betraying his base. Like, can you think of any more peaceful military strike, as peaceful as a military strike can be, in our lifetime that was that effective ever?
Yeah, and the media had a vested interest in keeping it going, too. They must have broken 20 stories about breaking the ceasefire before we realized, nobody broke the ceasefire. There's no big deal. Right? They really wanted that to happen, but it didn't work out. I thought he handled it expertly, and in all caps on Truth Social somehow. I have no idea.
He does love his caps. Let me ask you this: what would you say is his strongest suit and his weakest suit? We went through economy, trade, international relations, national security, sort of disbanding the deep state. Where would you say he's been strongest in these 6 months? Where would you say he's been weakest?
I don't know. I kind of assess the success of the second Trump term by the number of ribs I have ruptured laughing, which is a lot.
Yeah.
I go trade war. I think trade war, he's been pretty good. And people need to understand, like, China enjoying a trade surplus for decades to the tune of hundreds of billions, precipitating a measurable decline in the quality of the average American's quality of life since, 2018. Like, that's not an imbalance. That is a deliberately orchestrated mass transfer of wealth. So to whatever extent he can sort of ameliorate that, he has accomplished a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
And then you factor in that whole press tour Xi Jinping did. Mm-hmm. You didn't even mention that. Right. He got straight up kicked in the Xi Jinping on that trade trip.
Yeah.
He went to Vietnam, Singapore. He went all over Southeast Asia, and nobody wanted to hear any of it at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's basically been neutered. Although I did find it funny when she put those, was it UN or EU officials on that Greyhound shuttle bus. That was a power move.
Yes, indeed.
And they took it. Could you imagine Donald Trump would show up in a jetpack for screw you bitches, I'm not going on a bus. They all took it. We went on Xi's bus.
Yes. And tariffs. I would throw tariffs up there, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, because, and the Lulberts will bite back on this, but they forget, Thomas Jefferson funded the entire government only through tariffs.
Right.
And actually, wait for it, he banned all inland taxes, right? At the same time. That's the only way. Lulberts used to worship that man's powdered wig, but suddenly when Trump does it, it's more evil than apartheid. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Somehow.
That's exactly. And he's also drawn attention to the sort of new apartheid 2.0.
Who said apartheid's evil?
Yeah, well, the way it's happening now, because the white farmer's not doing all that well.
That's a joke for the love of Christ.
I did want to, before we go here to Rumble Premium, because we've gone a little bit late, I want to ask you two things. Why do you think the left really hates Hulk Hogan? And then I wanted to ask you about McCarthy. But people, just so we don't cut off midway, click that button. If you're not a member, you can join Rumble Premium and continue watching 100% more show. You can try it out for a month, $9.99. And if not, this whole thing goes away anyway, so you can continue to be a freeloader. But first, Hulk Hogan. Why do you think the left hates him so much?
Well, he's too dark for them to hate for being white. So
right.
there's problem number one. It's the promo. That's all it is. He had never weighed in on politics in any conceivable degree. And suddenly he cuts the best promo at the RNC. And people say, like, oh, it's just a celebrity thing. No, to me, that was the moment where it was okay for the normies. That was the wink and the nod.
Yeah.
That was the moment it was okay for the normies to vote for Donald Trump. Oh, he can't be Hitler. It's Hulk Hogan, real American guy. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it also, they were really trying to make it seem like they were, looking out for the working class, middle. And it's like, is there anything more working class than the biggest professional wrestling icon at the RNC putting a stamp of approval? And that really took it. Took the rug out from under them. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's that simple. Okay, I do want to ask you, though, because I've talked about this quite a bit, where people use this term McCarthyism. And you just did a video, a deep dive on Joseph McCarthy. McCarthyism is a misnomer because my position is a lot of people don't realize, he may be bombastic, he was right about a lot. There were communist spies. People just sort of threw that out there because, he was a little overzealous. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions for people watching now? And by the way, everyone go watch his deep dive on this. It is worth taking the time to explore.
Yeah. I mean, the idea that he didn't have any names, that he was lying about having names, that's not actually true. He had a whole heap of names. They all came directly from the FBI. Later, they were featured in the Venona intercepts, but it was like they actually wanted him to drop the names, and he was resisting because he didn't want to drop anybody's he basically didn't want to dox people. Mm-hmm. That was what was happening. And honestly, that probably was the thing that ultimately killed him, because from that point on, they could just claim, oh, he has no names. Right? He didn't want public hearings, for example, right? The Democratic Party insisted on it, basically because the entire thing was a giant trial on McCarthy. That's what it was. It wasn't about communists and calling him before there. It was about ending McCarthy's career. That's really what that was about. But yeah, I talk about it at Astra for 2+ hours or whatever in my video on McCarthy.
Well, do you think they do that too, where they just go, oh, McCarthyism now, right? If we were to believe what we were told as kids, it's a witch hunt. McCarthyism, it was the Red Scare when there were no communists. Do you think they do that because they don't want people to figure out this was orchestrated? There were communists abroad and, by the way, here trying to infiltrate our institutions. And if you look now, you see the remnants of that, for example, in education and in government and media.
Well, you're reading anything into the fact that the moment McCarthy, the guy who said there are communists embedded in our government, dies, the 60s happen? Yeah, that's a good point.
Any
connection there?
Yeah, if McCarthy was around, that daisy going into the rifle would have been blowing out the back of their hand. That would have been a happier ending. Whenever I see it, it's like you watch a movie that has a bad ending. Like I hope somehow the DVD cut changes. I just always hope to see that daisy blow through that third knuckle.
There's a statue of him in Haight-Ashbury.
Is there?
Yes.
Well, see, some people got it right. I'm here with Mr. Razerfist. We are in the purgatory of dead souls for Jews, foreign wars.
Yeah, but we're not Jews. We just died for them.
Yeah, and I think you're kind of in the same boat as me. To go back to that same boat as me, where I'm like, yeah, I hate AIPAC. Of course, I hate them for the same reason I hate Act Blue. They give hundreds of thousands of dollars to Hakeem Jeffries. Why would I like AIPAC? It also doesn't mean that I support the Ayatollah. How is this hard?
Doesn't mean I'm putting on, the little Italian restaurant napkin on my head and going to town. No, not so much.
It was the people that called for his impeachment prior to the strikes. It was just when Israel was going to town on Iran, and they were like, "Oh, he's got to go." And I mean, literally, that's what Dave Smith was saying, and I was just like, "What? This is before we did the strikes."
Yeah, no, I know.
And a lot of people have fallen prey to it. Not just that. Tucker a little bit. And,
a lot of it. What are you talking about? A little.
A lot.
Yeah, Tucker a lot. Look, it's fine to have questions about this. It's fine to go foreign. Look, Dave Smith's not wrong in that we have spent trillions of dollars and 20 years and countless lives, not only ours, but other people's, in these foreign wars that have really had no real impact, like in Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, that was just bad stuff. So we probably would have been better off doing it a different way. I get it. And you're a little gun shy when we start talking about another country in the Middle East. I get that too. That's fine. All that conversation is fine. But to fly off the handle and say it's World War III, you have to impeach a president when we're not even in a war at all right now.
Right.
And then not to give credit where credit is due. And I'm not talking about just going like, oh, well, I guess it all worked out. I'm saying like, hey, listen, maybe I was wrong, and maybe these guys knew what they were doing in the first place.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I'd like to see.
I was wrong. I was never, but I said, I still would rather because of the optics, I'd still rather Israel do it without our help. I said, that's the ideal. I said, but I wouldn't be angry and then when it happened, I said, if I'd have known it could have been this effective, I would have supported it wholesale, right off the bat. I was like, so? I mean, I was looking for a reason to be wrong at that point because I'm glad that it was successful. I'm glad that I was semi-wrong because it's good news for America. But I remember thinking of you when this happened because you were on my show and I don't think you made a joke about sodomizing the corpse of John McCain, but it was very irreverent. And like you clearly hate John McCain because you're from Arizona and he was a war hawk. So like you're that guy. Right. And then to see these people saying Donald Trump and people, these are the neocons. We're going, what cosmic bunny hole did we jump into?
Yeah, we absolutely did. But I think it was effective. And also you had to keep in mind, like, Iran is, every lie we were told about Iraq is true about Iran.
Right.
Like it is the exact when I hear it compared to the Iraq war, I'm like, you have no idea. You haven't met anybody in Iran. It's the exact opposite of Iraq. Like Iraq is a Muslim country with a Muslim religion and a Muslim government. Iran is a non-Arab country that somehow wound up with an Arab government and an Arab religion.
Right.
And they had to create a whole variant of Islam in order to represent it, because otherwise the completely non-Arab people in Iran, who essentially are just lorded over by this occupying government, would cast off the chains along that. Like, it's the complete opposite of Iraq. And so when you hear these comparisons, it's just laughable. And it's the main thing, right? Yeah. Everybody's so traumatized by the Iraq war. They're convinced they're seeing Iraqs around every single corner.
Right. No, that's a really good. We actually addressed it at the point and said, no, hold on a second. The same intelligence agencies that said there were no nuclear weapons, right, or nuclear capabilities in Iraq are the same ones who've been telling us for a very long time that Iran does have these capabilities and they're getting even more powerful. So it's like, so if you're using the comparison and you're using the same source, two very, very different reports, do you think that some of this out there is... Do you think it's people just get set in their narrative, or do you think, I hate to use the term grifting, do you think there's willful ignorance where it's just, you know what, I'm going to get the clicks by saying impeach Donald Trump, and I'm going to get the clicks by saying World War III?
Well, I think there's, whatever you want to call it, shepherding, botting, whatever. I think we have a series of kind of what are essentially neutralization ops, where when people say a certain thing, they get a whole lot of engagement from a lot of botting. And usually those are things that are going to neutralize them politically going forward as an entity. Mm-hmm. Like, you remember in you've been around long enough, you got to remember, like 2015, 16, 17, race IQ became a big thing on YouTube for a minute.
Yeah, like, I remember Stefan Molyneux having, what was his name? The guy who... you know the guy I'm talking about, the guy who wrote the book on it. He's kind of an expert.
Murray.
No. But yes, I remember that became a huge thing, and like and I remember. I think you and I had to say, like, well, there's obviously a component, but to distill it all down to this, like, I don't think you guys are going to like how this turns out.
Yeah, but it's like once Biden got in there, it was like the script was completely flipped, and all those people went away. Right. Like you can see these kind of neutralization ops like sort of happening, right? I don't think you need to get out into conspiracy town because bots don't cost that much, right? And we saw, what was it, like a month ago, somebody blew the whistle on China and Russia are spending gajillions on bot activity on social media. Right. And if you wanted to neutralize, if you wanted to cause a divide in MAGA and thereby a divide in Trump's base, and if you had any abiding incentive to do so, that would obviously be something that you would consider worth the investment. I mean, we learned, speaking of McCarthy, we learned when Perestroika happened and the fall of the Berlin Wall, that the Soviet Union had been funding communism in the United States to the tune of millions every single year. So clearly they saw some kind of benefit from that.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think, I think you're absolutely right. And it also tells you that it brings us to the Russia hoax kind of scandal there, because it shows that Russia, if they have more of a vested interest in fracturing the base of the guy who's going to, push it in and break it off. They don't want this guy in charge. They were gleeful to have Biden in charge, and I guarantee it would be the same thing with Kamala. If you're Putin, do you want who do you think you want to deal with? Kamala Harris is going to keep writing a never-ending check that gets funneled and laundered to Ukraine, right? And you're like, okay, I can deal with that. Or the guy who's going to pull every other lever of trade where he's effectively going to shut off all of our income on our energy.
Right.
And you can see he's panicking right now.
Businessman versus woman.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
Yes.
It's that easy, honestly.
Effectively, yeah. It really is.
Yeah.
You just said something and I forgot what. Yeah. You know what? Those bots and it makes a lot of sense.
It's like shepherding. It's like that's the thing. People will say, "Oh, Candace has got to be paid off," and it's like, I think it's worse than that. I think she's doing it for free for the engagement. I think much worse. Also, hard to believe the broad who predicted boots on the ground in Iran a month ago didn't do a research on whether Macron's wife has a hog. Huh?
I know.
I mean, you could just walk up and tell, right?
And of course, we invited her on along with Dave Smith and along with, I don't remember who else.
Ian Carroll and
Ian
They
Carroll.
took you right up on
Daryl
that,
Cooper.
Yeah, no, instead, Candace just went out and said I'm gay because I said that Sydney Sweeney's like a 9, not like a 10.
Technically, she laughed at a comment that said you should just come out of the closet now.
Whatever.
But the way Macron's wife sat down on that talk show, that put me over the edge. I'm sorry.
All right.
She's got a and it's a big one.
I agree. I think she looks like Jinx from Pokemon, but I'm not making a 12-part documentary series about it.
She sat down like she just sacked somebody in the middle of a Super Bowl. Sat down on the bench. I mean, legs spread, fucking head forward.
Yes.
Oh, she should have plowed a cigarette like it was 1960.
She could. Yeah, there you go. That's a good. We just pulled it up. Yeah, no, but the issue is like when you go out, you go, yeah, and there are no pictures of her as a child, and there's no evidence of her first marriage. It's like, here are many, many pictures of her as a child, and here's an actual picture of her wedding day to the man. Like, that is
AI.
Well, you and I, no. This is 100%. I don't know if you've been following this. Candace is
AI.
cooked.
She said, "Oh, this is." She took AI and she analyzed the photos via AI.
Oh, did she?
And she was trying to determine if AI could tell if it was the same person or not. This rabbit hole has gotten deeper.
Oh, this is news to me.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm against you on that.
There's a whole thing right now out there. There's like she replaced somebody else. Their IDs expired here, except that's not what.
Yeah,
the
she replaced her brother. She's her brother and replaced someone else. But there are pictures of her and the brother.
Well, that's what she says.
That's a sister. That's a sister.
And don't you find yourself here like Razor? Like we were right in that era. I mean, I've been on YouTube since 2008 doing political videos, and of course we still champion free speech, and that's why I'm there on Rumble. But it's like, okay, we also acknowledge there's a problem where if you go, okay, here are verifiable facts, and someone just goes, AI, you're like, okay,
No,
No, yeah.
all right, what do we do?
Right.
That's the
it makes it
downside
worse
to AI.
for it.
It puts a doubt in everybody's mind. I can't watch anything now without going, is that AI?
Yeah,
I look at everything through that prism now.
yeah,
I'm very, I didn't need help being cynical.
I AIU onto Hogan's sex tape, and you know what? You look pretty good. But what were you going to say there, Mr. Fist?
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry.
No, I
Guys, you have to kill
I don't
Gerald and
trust
Nick's
anything
mics.
on the internet. I'm all in on the dead internet theory at this point.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everything. And you add AI to the mix, please. Everything's fictitious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, although I will say, you mentioned like people doing it for clicks, but Qatar has a vested interest too. Like I hate AIPAC for the same reason that I hate that Qatar is the single largest investor into our educational system to the tune of billions of dollars, and no one talks about that. Like that is significant. It doesn't mean that everyone who disagrees with me is paid by Qatar. I'm not saying that, but they do spend huge sums of money, and they have a very big stake in it.
I do kind of hope she wins the lawsuit, though, because otherwise I'm boned on the Michelle Obama jokes.
Yeah. No, I think because they could just roll a clip and be like, yeah, I was joking. I didn't mean it.
Yeah, parody. We'll frame it. It's all in how you frame it.
Well, no, Michelle never reached out to you and gave you, proof that you were wrong.
That's
and
true.
You know what I mean? So I think you're safe.
Proof.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing to get 2 emails of proof and then just to make sure send it by courier that you sign for, I believe. Maybe she didn't sign for it, just to make sure that you have the evidence. And
so, Mr. Fist and Mr. Crowder, I have to give you the latest rant from her today. I don't know if you saw
Oh,
this.
geez.
Oh, God.
So the latest.
Please don't put us on the spot like
the latest story, the latest explanation for this is okay. So she doesn't quite say this, but in kind of by implication. Fine, there was a real Bridget that had a brother, right? But that real Bridget got sick and was dying. And the brother was a trans individual who she knew could never fully live his full existence and be accepted. And so in dying, gave the identity to the brother to be a woman, and so basically assumed Bridget. So fine if you got photos that there's a real
I
Bridget.
brought in my Colt Python just to show Nick, because we're talking about revolvers. My only regret is that it's not loaded.
I know. This is real. This is
What is
reality.
this, a soap opera story?
I know.
It's like Days of Our Dong. What is this?
And here's the thing. Maybe, let's assume for a second that she is. Okay? The story that you're telling me right now is nothing like the first multi-part series that we were told was rationalization as to why she was a man in the first place. And that is definitely an issue where it's like, yeah, obviously you are free to say these things, but let's not act as though everything that is said as far as being presented as a theory, right. is equal, because then you have to look at the research and you have to look at the veracity of the claims, and they just don't hold up. Well, speaking of which, what do you think is ultimately going to come of the Russia collusion hoax? Do you think anyone's going to be hauled out in cuffs? Because we've been asking and wanting that for a very long time, and of course have yet to see any results.
It doesn't do any favors to people like Brennan who are already under investigation.
Right.
Like I think it's the people who are already in the firing line, the people who really, really put themselves out there. And Brennan, go back and watch some of his interviews. Like, he really said some stupid shit.
Yes.
Like he really was out front on let's get this guy, and he was saying a lot of this stuff in public. And it's like you're in a position where you're really not supposed to be saying things like that. Yeah. So I think the highest level you'll see is someone like a Brennan. I doubt you'll get someone like a Comey, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Right? That kind of level. You're not going to see Obama hauled away.
No, of course not. That's never going to happen. I mean,
you could trick him, tell him there's a gay guy in the back of a taxi. And
yeah, exactly.
Or just crack rock and a gay dude. Don't worry about it.
There's a George Michael hologram in that porta potty. Go. Speaking of sex fiends, what do you think ultimately has happened or is going on with the Epstein thing, this saga?
There's one Epstein list, and it's Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yep.
The Epstein list that everyone's spurging about was curated under the Obama White House under Eric Holder, a DOJ head who was so corrupt he resigned in disgrace.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still spurging about that thing, when you've got Ghislaine Maxwell naming reportedly over 100 names, like, it's time to just admit you're anti-Trump. It's time to admit you're just looking for any reason to spurg about Trump, because you have a more reliable version of the exact same thing. She's literally the madam.
Yes. Yeah, she is. I think, isn't it odd that Donald Trump, saying, "Oh, stop talking about Epstein"? What do you think about, sort of the switch from Kash Patel? Do you think that these guys buy that? Oh, yeah, it's the suicide. It's the story that you were told.
Yeah, I mean, I think optically they've handled it really bad. It's like bowling shoe ugly. It's not good. Like, Trump is not, seriously, he's handled it really, really badly. And I think a lot of that is because when he gets like passionate about something, you notice he like doesn't want to even want to hear about it.
Right.
And he like really locks down, and like that's kind of the vibe that I get. Sometimes it's crazy how he's so good at manipulating the media, and other times completely gibberingly, pants-shittingly it. It's like there's no middle ground at all with him. I think it's mostly just bad optics on his part. But like, he's not obstructing anything. His first week in office, by the way, he greenlit the release of the Epstein files. Like he was fine with them being released. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. I think he maybe got a look at them. Oh, they're kind of BS. They're kind of Eric Holdered. Yeah. Whatever. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who are recent sort of this movement, they don't. For those who don't remember, just before you Google Eric Holder, just think photo negative of Ned Flanders. That's exactly what you're gonna turn up, and he was the worst. But you had a question.
Yeah, so I just wanted to follow up on the Epstein list. I get, and I agree with you 100%. Like, that's the person we should be talking to, and even if that involves some kind of a deal, I would have to hold my nose so that we can maybe get 50 or 100 high-ranking pedophiles off the street. I'd be okay with that. But I think the reason that people were going after a list is because we were told there was a list, and we were told that that list was ready to be turned over, and that, hey, here's a binder and here's some information, and it's going to be. I mean, Pam Bondi went out and did the tour on Fox News, and basically was like she had her own show, it seemed. So I think that's why people were saying that, and for the administration to come out and now kind of switch it up to, hey, that list is corrupted. That's a very reasonable explanation, but just really hard to take when you've been telling us this whole time that there's a list that you're going to release. Yeah.
It is important, though, to mention that Trump was pretty muted on that score.
Yes, it's everybody around him.
Yeah, he didn't campaign about it, but some of the people that he appointed absolutely did.
Right.
I mean, but he did say before the election, or I think it was before the election, maybe it was just after, we had some clips of him saying that he would release that information.
JFK and Epstein list, yeah.
Yeah, he'd get that stuff out there. And so I think that's why this became the thing that it is. It's just mishandling.
Right, exactly. And then that he was on they can reach for different things. Like he was on the flight log for the small Cessna, not the Lolita Express, and for one trip over to Florida or some shit like that. But it's like, even if he was on the list and whatever, it's pretty curious tactics for him to then cooperate with the FBI, be one of the earliest witnesses, ban him from Mar-a-Lago back in 2007, hand over everything and all of those properties over to the FBI in order to get the ball rolling on the investigation. Like, that's pretty curious tactics if you're incriminated by Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. Well, there's no world in which he isn't in the Epstein files, because he played such a big part in being the first person to cooperate with authorities and report him. Right?
And people are saying right now, well, why wouldn't Biden release all that if he was?
True.
But I would say because they all run in the same circles. These people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't know who Biden knows, and you know, I mean, he has to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
I think it's a whole network of people.
I think it's definitely more damning on Biden's, if not the Biden family, Biden's friends than it
That's
is
what I mean.
for Trump.
So
and I think in their case, it's covering their asses. In this case, it's just mishandling. And I think Pam Bondi needs to be.
Yeah,
well,
she did her own thing. She's like rogue on that one.
She's just the worst. She's the worst, in my opinion, in this administration. And I was one thing I wanted to ask you about, because you've been on YouTube and doing this for a long time. And I remember, I think you and I first started talking back when like Gamergate was a big thing. And we found some old clips. Remember, I was talking about this in I want to say 2012, saying, look, I said the next generation after millennials are going to be one of the more conservative generations. And the winning issues are freedom of speech, guns. I said, you're surprised at guns. I remember telling this to boomer audiences, saying, because they're playing these video games, and they're maybe not Second Amendment people, but it's easy to get them into the fold. I said, okay. And then feminism is something that people are tired of. Free speech, guns, and anti-feminism. I said, if you guys, because it's destroyed the American family, it's destroyed relationships, it's only going to get worse. If you guys actually focus on these issues, these cultural issues, you're going to see a switch. But I didn't expect it to be as swift and as significant as it has been this last election. Do you feel like, hey, you know what, you played a part in that and it even surprised you?
Yeah, it was wild, and even in the previous the election previous to that, I don't know if you remember, I almost lost my YouTube channel over it. I warned in 2020, like 6-7 months before the election, about mail-in ballots.
Right.
I was like, hey, here's kind of what it looks like when this stuff gets stolen, and you might want to keep an eye out for this. And here's the wild thing, that was up for like 7-8 months, something like that. 2 months after the election, suddenly that's election disinformation.
Yep.
It was fine for 7-8 months.
Yeah. Did they do the thing where they hit you with 2 strikes, like immediately in succession, to scare you with it? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, they did. I still have the warning on my channel, for crying out loud. So, yeah, no, absolutely. And it is interesting how quickly the Overton window has shifted. And it's wild, too, that I think the right's propensity for blackpilling on how little the Overton window has shifted has increased relative to it.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, we haven't gone far enough. You know what I mean? But then you look at what's actually going on. Like, look at the freak out over the Sydney Sweeney thing being like a Nazi. Meanwhile, like, that's supposed to be a Nazi dog whistle. Meanwhile, we got Candace and Tucker ready to invade the Rhineland. But those are the freaking... That's the Nazi dog whistle, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, we've clearly shifted the Overton window a slight bit, just a bit.
Well, I don't think the people doing that are conservatives. That's the thing. I don't really see them like they're not really pushing anything.
They're brilliant marketing people.
Yeah, I would say so. But we've been here all along and seen it. And I was surprised I never thought Blacksit was going to be a thing, or Blexit. I was like, we've seen this, right, jockeying over the black vote. I'm like, it's just not significant. But I remember I think you and I talking about the Hispanic vote, deeply Catholic, traditional, and they're not playing the Latinx. And now we just saw that shift dramatically. The Democrats tried to buy votes, and instead they might have sealed their own coffin with it.
Yeah, shoot, look at the mass shooting in New York. They tried to make the conversation about gun control. That lasted about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Gun control is dead buried in voting Democrat. Like, it's over as an issue. And it shifted so hard. It's like they can't even make headway. I think some of that is because they had so much institutional control on the left for so long. They didn't even have to formulate arguments.
Right.
That's right. That's
they
right.
lost the ability to even make the arguments. And back in the day when you would debate someone on the Democratic side, it might be the smartest person you ran into in your entire life.
Right.
Yeah, their chops
so much
atrophied.
No.
Yeah.
Now it's destiny.
Their chops atrophied.
Yeah. Not.
They didn't have to use them.
Yeah, it's not even close anymore.
No.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, the Second Amendment issue, and same thing. I think we see it with feminism. You see it with freedom of speech. And I don't know that the left ever recovers from this. I mean, the freebies, I don't know if they'll work. Also, when we were growing up, right, I remember people saying, this is different, right? Jon Stewart and Cobell, like, this is different from George Bush. Like, we remember NoFX and Rock Against Bush and the swastika. Like, we grew up, when I was in comedy clubs, it was a comedic witch hunt, right? How good of a Bush's dumb joke can you make?
Yeah.
And then I think you have a generation growing up where you have 8 years of Obama and institutional, like you said, Democrat control. Not only do they see nothing to show for it, but there's also that component of teenage rebellion where, okay, it's not the Bush era anymore.
Yeah, he's like Obama was like a bad stripper. Like he cock teased the socialist side of the Democratic Party for 8 years because it's like, you know, they professed that Obama was just a moderate liberal, right? But then it was like, we looked into his past. He's hanging around with Bill Ayers. He's talking
Frank
about
Davis.
being Marxist. They're saying publicly he's a moderate, but privately they're like, yes, comrade, we finally got one. We're good to go, right?
Yeah.
Which completely explains Bernie, the Marxist Muppet, popping up 5 minutes after Obama's out of the White House, and suddenly we're all about that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really what happened, and they kind of screwed themselves by screwing Bernie out of the nomination because they didn't get that contagion out of their system.
Right.
And now they're stuck with it. Now they got AOC and Bernie. Bernie's talking about running again.
I know.
Again.
I know.
They can't get rid of it.
I know. And it's now Bernie 3.0 with 3 houses, which, by the way, I still, like, I don't, by the way, have as many houses and planes as you want. But the rationalization that he gave is like, well, one is our main house, then we have we have a vacation home, and then one's a summer camp. It's like, that's a vacation home. And no one has a vacation home and summer camp.
One's a tribute to Stalin.
Yeah, exactly.
One's Lenin.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I called him a Muppet, but I shouldn't have. Not even Elmo's that red.
No,
No, he's the guy in the balcony, one of those guys.
Yes, Where do you get these capitalist jokes?
Dude, I loved those Biden-Bernie debates. It really was Statler and Waldorf, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was. Like, it was your statement was nonsensical. It was irritating. It was short. I loved it. But let me. I had one question. I don't remember what it was, but it was some kind of a question that was important. But anyway, I don't know what else is on your mind.
Super important.
We're tired. It's been a lot today. Toolman's gone. Nick, thank you for the valiant effort. Where's the best place for people to find you, Razerfist?
The Rageaholic on YouTube. I don't know what the URL is this week. They're always changing the format, but it's the Rageaholic on YouTube.
All right. Well, hopefully you don't lose your channel because I don't think we've been on our channel without seeing a warning in God knows how long.
We're gonna get you over to Rumble, Razerfist. We're gonna work on this.
Yeah, at least do both.
A
of
little
them.
shadowy.
Yeah, well, we'll create a shadow government. I hear that's all. By the way, you undersold it. He wasn't hanging out with Bill Ayers. He was smoking crack with convicted domestic terrorist Bill Ayers. For people out there, that was my question. Do you feel like there's been a referendum on young people even thinking Obama is cool? Because I've noticed that a lot of young people go like, yeah, even Rogan, I used to think he was good and that he was cool and now I look back and this is where a lot of that corruption and centralization started.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, millennials, I think even black people are kind of walking sideways away from. I mean, look at the guy's hair. Not even his hair wants to be black anymore. Obama makes it rough to be a super dedicated lib and a super militant black guy, and he's made it really rough by association to be those things. Kind of like what, I don't know, Bush did for Texas for a few years.
Yeah, he
right
did.
after,
We got over
you know
it.
what I mean? Just a little bit for a minute.
Cowboy from Connecticut.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it. I've definitely noticed that for sure because it was, he was a saint. And now people are like, yeah, all right. And I think Biden hurt him a lot too because we're like, oh, that's right. This was your choice.
His oratory skills are so overblown. He never said anything fucking profound.
No.
He just, come on. He wore his mother-in-law's jeans and a helmet on a bike. What the fuck?
Oh my God.
Kind of soldier
Obama
is that?
without a script was
I know.
like an equivocating fool's like, if I had a son, he would, be like Trayvon Martin. He would,
Yeah.
nothing but equivocation.
I'd be proud of my son drank purple drink and beat up a man on the sidewalk. Now, don't get all wee-weed up. You just made up that word. No, it's a saying. It's not a saying. It's a saying.
You're like Trayvon Martin, he'd be dead in a hoodie.
No, instead his daughter's just got what they're doing to MDMA at Coachella. So, it is a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Razerfist, I appreciate you taking the time. Well, we definitely won't go so long between visits next time. Thanks for being around, for sticking around, and still being one of the OGs. We appreciate it, brother.
Right on, bro. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, you can click around and watch one of these videos on YouTube, or head on over to Rumble and subscribe, where I am live every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Live on Rumble. YouTube is dead. Rumble did it. And on Rumble, you can say